Hello, I'm Razan, and I'm going to show you a little bit about Blackboard CourseSites, give you a brief overview of how the LMS works, show you some of the features that I really like from working on it for the last couple weeks, and just talk a little bit about how I see this LMS helping with future engagement with students. This is the main page for Blackboard CourseSites when you actually enter that into the Google search. And you can sign up for an account here, and you pretty much have free access to a lot of the features that come with it. But I wanted to show you how down here there is higher education, business, and government products, as well as K through 12 products. So it definitely depends on what you're teaching. For me, I teach higher education, so therefore I would be using these types of tools. K through 12 would be completely different. Blackboard Classroom would be one of the tools that you might use, the LMS that you might use. But I really, really like Blackboard because it's very user friendly. So once you've created an account and you log in, this is kind of what your dashboard looks like. This is the main page, and it's kind of giving you some links, terms of use, frequently asked questions for instructors and students to kind of help you get started. If you click on your name, this is your profile. You can edit it how you see fit. You can also choose the privacy settings and allow anyone to see your profile or certain people. You can also add your personal website. So for me, I've added my portfolio website on here. You can add your anything you want, as little or as much. If you go to the courses link on the left-hand side, this is where you're actually creating courses or you're building courses, improving them, etc. This is the course that I've invited everybody to join, and it's actually kind of my way of presenting the material that I created for the graduate assistantship that I've been a part of with the College of Nursing and Health Sciences. So when you click on the course itself, as an instructor, this is your dashboard and how you see it and how you can create things. But if you click on student preview mode, you actually get to see what the student sees as well. The first things that you want to pay attention to are these top row of buttons. Each one of them, this is your main content page, which is what we're on right now. You can go to calendar view where you can add things to your calendar. You can add an event, a course schedule, office hours so that your students are able to very easily see the most important due dates or events that are happening. If you click on discussions, it actually pulls up the discussion board itself, and you can create discussions by clicking the plus sign. You can add a discussion or a folder, and then when you add a discussion, you just type in whatever you want. You can change the grading on the discussion, make it rubric based, or just give it a very basic grading. You can assign it to different groups, as you can see down here. That little pop-up box that you saw is really helpful because it gives you a lot of insight on the things that you can do, especially when you're still using this for the first time. So for instance, I can display my discussions on the course content page, and so as soon as the student logs in, they see the discussions posted on there. I can make a discussion where it's post first, which a lot of you have mentioned as one of the features you like. And I think it's a great feature as well. I mean, we've used it in this program. It helps to kind of eliminate the copycat syndrome, which is what I like to call it because a lot of my students like to do that. And then you can also have it graded or not. Aligning with the goals and standards has something to do with your institution, and you can kind of search on it based on what you want to add. I haven't messed with that too much, so I don't really know how it works, but I like this group discussion assigning it to groups, and you can create groups. So I can show you how to create groups in just a second, but if you hit the plus sign, this is how you create a new group, and you can actually add people to the group. So let's say that we wanted to assign group A to have Megan and Dr. Squires in it. So I would hit the ellipsis and add her to group A. And then I'd also hit Dr. Squires ellipsis and add him to group A. And now there are two people in group A. And so when I assign the students to a group, then I can assign this to a group as well. I didn't save that, or it would have popped up on here because I can't see the save button because my little embedded screen with my face on it is in the way. Anyways, so the discussion's a really great tool to have. I love this feature. I like the accessibility. That's one thing I love about Blackboard CourseSites compared to regular Blackboard is the accessibility and the ease of use, and just there's so many things that you can add very quickly without needing to make a million steps, which The Blackboard that I have at work, I mean, you have to go through 75 steps just to post a discussion. It's kind of crazy. This is your gradebook, and it gives you a lot of different options. You can go based on your quizzes and your modules and your assessments. You can go based on overall grade, and then you can post grades once you've graded everything. And by posting the grades, you're allowing the students to see the feedback. So let's say I want to hit post all grades, and now the grades are posted on the student's gradebook. Messages is a great one to have handy up here because you can post messages as you like. You can add a message by clicking the plus sign, and whenever you add a message, you can choose who it goes to, either one specific person like Marisol, or I can actually add all course members to it. You type in the message, you can choose to send an email copy, allow replies to message, which is great. And then you just hit the send button if it allows you to, and you're able to actually send this message to everybody. So that is kind of the basic overview of these buttons. This last one is analysis, and I love this course analysis button. The analytics is fantastic on here. My questions were not built very well because I was just trying to create something very quickly. But when you run a report, so for instance, I ran a report on the Module 1 quiz, it actually shows me the difficulty level for the questions as well as the discrimination. So discrimination is going to tell you how well students are able to differentiate the subject matter, how well students are able to do that. And then difficulty indicates whether or not the question is hard enough. And these are really basic analytics, but great for building course assessments and much better than the original Blackboard that I use. Their assessment analytics is kind of confusing. I don't like it very much. I really like this feature a lot because as a new instructor, I'm able to kind of gauge where I need to work on improving my assessments, because how do we know our students learn? By doing, obviously, but also by assessments. And so I think it's really great to have as a new instructor, or just somebody who's trying to teach something new or create new material for their courses. So again, under your actual dashboard, there's a lot of different things you can see within the course. Blackboard Collaborate is awesome. This is like my favorite feature of this entire LMS because I can create an online classroom face-to-face pretty much, because we can have video and audio. And I can also have a whiteboard that I can write on here for, so the students are able to see what I'm talking about. So I can share video. I can also share the audio. And then I wonder if it's going to let me add whiteboard. I don't know if it's going to let me do that. It wasn't giving me that option a couple of minutes ago. But over here, you can see who's in your chat room. You can actually find someone to chat with, and then you can actually create like little topics, and you can start chats yourself within this classroom. So that's really neat. But because there's nobody in the room, it's really hard to kind of show what the features are of Blackboard Collaborate, but I absolutely love this feature because you can, again, have class virtually. Your students can actually run their own classroom session and record it and send it to you as an assignment. I mean, there's so much you can do with Blackboard Collaborate. I love it. We don't have this on our typical Blackboard. If you notice here on your roster, this is another feature that I absolutely love because, you know, in education, we have a lot of students who need different accommodations. And it's very important to, especially with making sure that we are accessible to everybody and making sure that our education is equitable. Allowing for accommodations is fantastic for students. If I wanted to give a student extra accommodations, all you would do under your roster is click the ellipsis next to their name, hit accommodations, and then you actually get to choose a couple of different options. You can choose that the student does not have late work ever due to whatever reason. You can also give them time limit accommodations. So for instance, I have a current student who needs more time. She went through the proper channels to make sure that that was an accommodation that we provided to her per policy, but then I was told I needed to give her double the time. So I gave her 100% extra time on her test. You hit the save button and you're able to actually give the accommodations to the student themselves. That is a great feature in my opinion, because you can tailor your course to each student's needs. And it's not just about accommodating them per what your district or your campus is telling you to do. It's also about you being a great instructor and seeing what your students need and working with it, especially if you're super into making sure they learn the material and you're not trying to just weed them out. So this is a great, I love this feature. One of my favorite features on here is the accommodations feature. Another feature I like is course groups. If you click on course groups, you can create groups for your students. So let's say that I wanted to add somebody to group A. So I edit the course group and I can add students to it. So right now, group one and group two, I have Nathan in group one. I want to add Dr. Squires. So I add Dr. Squires to group one. If you hit the save button, now you have 2 people in your group. I did not hit the save button because I can't access it because of the embedded picture. But now that I have somebody in group A or group one, then whenever I go to my assignments, I can actually make my assignments by student. So I can assign certain things to certain students or create groups for each student. So for instance, let me see if I can find it. I'm sorry if I'm kind of losing track of where I'm at. You can actually add people to your assignments. I'm sorry, I can't find it on here, but you're able to add students to each assignment that you create or groups of students. You can even have it where certain students get one assignment, certain students have other assignments, and base their grading on a group mentality as opposed to individuals. I really like that. I think it's great to be able to choose that setting. One thing I noticed with accommodations is if you give a student accommodation for time, for instance, it doesn't really reflect on the group. But if you give a student accommodation for late work where they don't ever have late work, then everybody in that group now has the same accommodation. So you have to be very cognizant of that whenever you're assigning group work. Another feature that I really like about Blackboard CourseSites is the attendance can be marked within the course itself. And that way you can keep track without, in my job, it doesn't work that way. We have to use WebAdvisor as our attendance tracker. So this is great to kind of keep track of it until grades are due and you have to turn in your attendance. So I went a little bit over my time. I apologize. I definitely enjoy working with Blackboard CourseSites. I think that all of these extra add-ons and tools that are available to the instructor will absolutely enhance learning experience for students. Specifically things like accommodations, Blackboard Collaborate is a fantastic tool on here. I like the fact that you can have announcements and messages and you can kind of have more interactive experiences for your learners. It's very important in e-learning and I absolutely like that about Blackboard CourseSites. I hope you've liked my preview, my overview, and if you have questions, let me know. Thank you.